headlines, the President states that integration of high-end e-learning resources is required to ensure quality education in a geographically diverse island nation like the Maldives. The Vice President inaugurates the Food and Beverage Show, one of the largest food exhibits in the country. And the Maldives and Saudi Arabia addresses key topics within the immigration sector during a series of high-level discussions.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hafiz Abdul Sattar. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that integration of high-end e-learning resources such as artificial intelligence, AI, and virtual reality is required to ensure quality education in a geographically diverse island nation like the Maldives. He conveyed this message through a social media post on the occasion of the International Day of Education.
On the occasion of the International Day of Education, President Dr. Muiz emphasized the significance of education in empowering individuals through the power of knowledge. He noted that this year's theme, AI and Education, Preserving Human Agency in a World of Automation, underscores the transformative potential of artificial intelligence in the education system while maintaining our human essence. In his message, President Dr. Muiz highlighted that in this contemporary era, it is now a necessity for technology and education to align and integrate effectively. He further stressed the importance of technological advancements, stating that his administration aims to incorporate high-end e-learning resources, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality into the education system to chart a brighter pathway for future generations. Acknowledging the critical role of education today, President Dr. Muiz expressed gratitude to educators and individuals within the educational continuum, both nationally and internationally, for their dedication to fostering skills through the education of children and youth. Concluding his message, President Dr. Muiz reaffirmed his administration's commitment to ensuring that every child in the country receives quality education that nurtures young minds, instills values, promotes creativity, and prepares them for an ever-evolving world. The administration is presently making substantial efforts to advance and enhance the technology sector. As such, President Dr. Muiz recently announced the administration's objectives to digitalize both the education and healthcare sectors. The International Day of Education is observed globally on 24th January.
Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif on Friday inaugurates the Food and Beverages Show, one of the largest food exhibits in the country.
The 8th edition of the annual Food and Beverage Show, organized by local event company High Rise Private Limited, will continue in the Hurumal Central Park until Sunday. After officially opening this year's F&B show, the Vice President had toured the venue and visited several stalls. The show is aimed at promoting services and products of the local F&B industry, as well as providing a common platform for local suppliers to exhibit their range of products. More than 40 companies are participating in the Food and Beverage Show this year. The show, which was open to the public, will give visitors the opportunity to experience various products and participate in promotions conducted by various companies. This year's show features a variety of food, beverages, and kitchen appliances. The 3-day show will be held every day from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. There are many different activities scheduled to be held during the show. There will be sessions with panelists in addition to several contests including pizza eating, cake decorating and baking, along with a host of entertainment activities. The show is aimed at wholesalers, retailers and manufacturers of F&B businesses across the country.
The Maldives and Saudi Arabia addresses key topics such as information exchange, intelligence sharing, capacity building and training within the immigration sector during a series of high-level discussions.
A series of high-level discussions were held between the Maldives and Saudi Arabia as part of the Maldives Controller General of Immigration, Shaman Wahid's visit to Saudi Arabia. The Controller General of Immigration is in Riyadh at the invitation of the head of the Saudi Arabian General Directorate of Passports. As part of his visit, the Maldivian Controller General of Immigration engaged in extensive deliberations with the head of the Saudi Arabian General Directorate of Passports. As such, key topics such as information exchange, intelligence sharing, capacity building, and training within the immigration was highlighted during the discussions. Additionally, the Controller General conferred with various other officials from the Saudi Arabian government. According to Maldives Immigration, the Controller General of Immigration and his delegation gained valuable insights into the immigration process of Saudi Arabia, encompassing visa issues, border management, and skill development. The agency reported that the discussions centered on training opportunities for immigration officers, information exchange, and intelligence sharing. That with only one aircraft in operation, about 70 jobs have been created. Salim noted that the aim is to make Maldivian an airline employing only Maldivians. Currently, 95% of the company's staff are locals. Salim emphasized that the success of Maldivians' international flights will require the cooperation of multiple sectors, including Maldives Airports Company Limited (MACL), embassies, travel agents, and businessmen. Maldivians Director of Flight Operations Captain Ahmad Hunain also spoke about the expansion of the airline's flights by adding more wide-body aircrafts. He highlighted that this expansion will lead to more opportunities for local pilots.
Maldives Customs Service reports that the state has collected 19.52 million in trade revenues in December 2024. This amount signifies a 6.5% decrease from the $21.53 million accrued during the corresponding period in the previous year.
Despite the decline in revenue, statistical data reveals an uptick in imports to Maldives for December 2024 compared to the same month in the previous year. In December 2023, imports stood at $330.15 million, increasing to $376.29 million in December 2024. This 13.7% rise highlights the intensified import activity during the reviewed period. In December 2024, the Maldives' principal sources of imports were the United Arab Emirates (UAE), Singapore, China, India, and Malaysia. The bulk of these imports consisted of food and other consumables, fuel, machinery, and electronics. More specifically, imports from the UAE amounted to $95.95 million, while those from Singapore totaled $59.99 million. Imports from China, India, and Malaysia were valued at $54.87 million, $43.76 million, and $30.61 million, respectively. In contrast, the Maldives witnessed a substantial decline in export revenues. In December 2023, the state's exports were valued at $16.21 million. However, this figure dropped sharply to $7.52 million in December 2024. The primary export destinations for the Maldives in December 2024 were the United Kingdom, UK, Thailand, Vietnam, Germany, and Japan. Notably, the Maldives exported goods worth $2.72 million to the UK and $1.42 million to Thailand. Exports to Vietnam were valued at $842,498.70, while those to Germany and Japan amounted to $648,824.52 and $324,412.26, respectively. During this period, the Maldives' chief export commodity was fishery sector products, with canned skipjack tuna leading the exports at a value of $3.11 million.
Maldives national airline Maldivian launches direct flights to Chinese capital Beijing after inaugurating its wide-body operations to Chengdu earlier this week.
Maldivian commenced long-haul operations to China with its newest acquisition, the wide-body Airbus A330-200. The inaugural flight to Chengdu was successfully held on 21st January with 52 passengers, including 32 tourists. Chinese tourists holidaying in the Maldives had flown back home on Maldivians' inaugural flight to Beijing, with the first tourist receiving a special welcome at the time of check-in to mark the occasion. In conjunction with the introduction of the Airbus A330-200, Maldivian has announced a special promotional fare. According to Maldivian, promotional fares are 30% to 50% lower than current fare rates in China. Passengers would also get 40 kilograms baggage allowance and in-flight meals on the special fare. The new Airbus A330-200 with a seating capacity of 264 passengers offers 3 cabin classes: economy, business and premium. The acquisition fulfills an electoral commitment by President Dr. Mohamed Muiz to introduce 2 wide-body aircraft for Island Aviation Services Limited, the operator of Maldivian. The government also plans to acquire an additional wide-body aircraft and initiate flights to European destinations by October this year. The commencement of direct flights to China is expected to boost tourist arrivals and trade between the two countries.
Deputy Managing Director of Island Aviation Services says that the operator of Maldives National Airline Maldivian notes that the airlines plan to expand its wide-body operations to more international destinations will create more job opportunities for locals.
Maldivian has commenced operations to China with its newest acquisition, the wide-body Airbus A330-200. On Tuesday, Maldivian held its inaugural flight to Chengdu before adding Beijing to its network late Thursday. Speaking to PSM News, Deputy Managing Director of IAS, Ali Salim, noted that the wide-body operations will create many job opportunities along with enhancing the reputation of Maldives in the global aviation industry. He explained that the airline will need more pilots, cabin crew, cargo engineers, and agents, noting that even for just 1 aircraft, several job openings have been announced. Noting that with only 1 aircraft in operation, about 70 jobs have been created, Salim noted that the aim is to make Maldivian an airline employing only Maldivians. Currently, 95% of the company's staff are locals. Salim emphasized that the success of Maldivians' international flights will require the cooperation of multiple sectors, including Maldives Airports Company Limited MACL, embassies, travel agents, and businessmen. Maldivian's Director of Flight Operations, Captain Ahmad Hunain, also spoke about the expansion of the airline's flights by adding more wide-body aircrafts. He highlighted that this expansion will lead to more opportunities for local pilots. He added that a considerable number of locals are seeking jobs at the airline, but the company cannot cater to all the applicants at present. He mentioned that when they opened for interviews, over 100 pilots applied, but for now there are just 3 vacancies. The acquisition of the new Airbus fulfills an electoral commitment by President Dr. Mohamed Muiz to introduce 2 wide-body aircraft for Maldivian. The government has plans to acquire an additional wide-body aircraft and initiate flights to European destinations by October this year.
Wall Street's main indices closes lower as investors stepped back while they digested a mixed bag of economic data and earnings reports and prepared for a week filled with economic releases and a Federal Reserve meeting. The technology sector was the biggest drag on the market as mega-cap stocks, including Nvidia, reversed after rallying sharply earlier in the week. At the end of a relatively light week for data, traders were betting the Fed would keep borrowing cost unchanged at its January 28 to 29 meeting and expects its first rate cut in June, the latest data from CME Group's Fed Watch tool showed.
This week we saw the S&P 500 make a new historic high, and today we're sort of digesting that, flat to a little bit down. I don't think anyone's going to reach conclusions about the action today in the market. What we're really going to take from all of this is that there is, optimism with some caution with the new administration stepping in. And when we look across the market, we do know there's that handful of top 10, top 15 S&P 500 stocks that are richly valued and have had tremendous runs. But that leaves us about 485 stocks that are at very reasonable valuations and have not fully participated. So this is still a very attractive market moving forward for investors. I think what we saw in this first week brought down some of the concerns into year end. You know, there was a mix of the market reacting very strongly to our change in leadership. And then, of course, there's all the campaign road speeches, and people start thinking that'll be reality in the markets. And that gave us that mixed market. And in the very first few days, I think investors went back to really remembering what it was like under the first Trump presidency from a business and market standpoint. He came out with things that were generally widely accepted and applauded in the business environment. He did not act quickly with extreme moves on some of the other things he's spoken about, and reminded investors that there is a difference between what gets executed and what gets talked about and synthesized through Congress.
The S&P 500 lost 17.47 points or 0.29% to end at 6,101.24 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 99.38 points or 0.5% to 19,954.30. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 140.82 points or 0.32% to 44,424.25. On a weekly basis, the indices were looking at their second straight week of advances. Palestinians welcomes humanitarian aid flowing into the Gaza Strip in the wake of the newly agreed ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, but says they hoped for faster progress. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said humanitarian aid is entering Gaza through the Erez and Zikim crossings in the north and the Kerem Shalom area in the south. Video from the United Nations shows trucks driving in Gaza and Palestinians gathering at the central market in Deir al-Balah after the latest deliveries. The office said 653 aid trucks entered on Thursday, the fifth day of the ceasefire. OCHA cited information received from Israeli authorities and the guarantors for the ceasefire agreement, United States, Egypt and Qatar. Separately, a UN official told Reuters that funding shortages may affect the UN's ability to maintain aid flows at target levels throughout the ceasefire deal. Video released by UNRWA shows what the Palestinian Relief Agency said was workers distributing aid in northern Gaza. The agency said in a social media post that as soon as the ceasefire took effect, UNRWA teams have been working non-stop to start distributing food aid in northern Gaza. Reuters was not able to independently verify the location and the date when the video was filmed. Throughout the 15-month war, the UN has described its humanitarian operation as opportunistic, facing problems with Israel's military operation, excess restrictions by Israel into and throughout Gaza, and more recently looting by armed gangs. Israel and Hamas ceasefire and release of hostages taken by the militants during their deadly truckloads of aid to be allowed into Gaza every day of the initial 6-week ceasefire, including 50 carrying fuel. Half of the 608 trucks would be delivered to Gaza's north, where experts have warned famine is imminent. U.S. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Helen, the president vowed to sign an executive, the main federal agency that responds to natural disasters. He said he preferred that states be given federal money to handle disasters themselves. Trump accused FEMA of bungling emergency relief, California's response to the fires. Trump has accused Republican colleagues in Congress have and repeated in North Carolina a false claim that Newsom and other officials refused to provide water from the northern part of the state to fight the fires. Water shortages caused some hydrants to run dry in affluent Pacific Palisades. Manchester City captain Kyle Walker joins AC Milan on loan for the rest of the season, the two clubs' announcers. Milan said in a statement that they also have an option to buy the Walker was left out of City's side for the 8-0 thrashing of Salford City in the FA Cup third round a week later, with manager Pep. He has featured in all 6 of City's Premier League triumphs after Guardiola, but leaves amid a poor run of results for the English champions, who are in danger of a Champions League exit after Wednesday's collapse in a 4-2 loss at Paris Saint-Germain. City are languishing 5th in the Premier League table, 12 points adrift of leaders Liverpool, who have a game in hand. Walker has 93 caps and was the lone English player named in the Euro 2024 team of the tournament after playing every minute in Germany, where the Three Lions finished runner-ups to Spain. Walker's departure is part of a busy transfer window for City. They signed Egypt forward Omar Marmoush from Eintracht Frankfurt on Wednesday after bringing in 19-year-old Brazilian defender Vitor Reis and Uzbekistan defender Abdulkadir Khosonov. An unusually large number of visitors lines up to see Amorphophallus gigas, nicknamed the corpse flower, bloom for the first time at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. The flower is famous for emitting fall smells with its blooms, which is every 2 to 10 years and only for about 24 hours on average.
So many different smells. We got some stinky cheese, some poop smells, some kind of sweaty, now I get the sweaty sock smell, foot smell. And then like once in a while, I actually get this like very fleeting, thin, pleasant floral smell. But that's not as often as the bad smell.
The Brooklyn Botanic Gardens flower bloomed for the first time since it's arrived 7 years ago. Until early afternoon on Friday, its yellow spike-like part called Parix stood upright until the purple flower around it opened up to attract with funky smells pollinations to the base of the parix, where the reproductive parts are located. Then the yellow flower collapsed.
So the plant is emitting this smell to attract pollinators. And it is attracting the pollinators that it wants the most. So carrion beetles that would be attracted to stuff that smells kind of putrid. So like poop or rotten eggs, stinky cheese, things like that. So like all plants, flowers that smell beautiful are, attracting bees, or they're attracting hummingbirds or other birds. This is attracting beetles and flies.
The corpse flower is native to Sumatra Island in Indonesia and is smaller than its cousin, Amorphophallus titum, which bloomed at the New York Botanical Garden in 2023. And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant time ahead.
ehun teringe maqbul kan lifawa silsilataka mulin ala geneste silsilata miyaharuge ramlon mahuves PSM ge radio channel takun ehun terina hamiye genestene emme maddin malaikatu